Wow. You're also quiet and well-behaved. Who are you and what did you do with my congregation? Good morning. It is a joy to be with you on Sage Sunday. We start with ringing our bell. We ring our bell every service. The first bell that we ring is to call us back into covenant because we are on the unceded land of the Muwekma tribe of the Ohlone people. They were displaced and colonized, their land taken, and now they are vigorously trying to restore their culture, their heritage, their customs, and pass on their wisdom to their descendants. And everything that we do to help them in that process is working our way back into covenant. The second calls us into relationship with ourselves and with one another to recognize whatever missed opportunities or broken promises or unhealed hurt that we might be a part of that by addressing might bring more wholeness. We intentionally gather to create an ever-widening circle of compassion and commitment until we are all beloved to one another. And the third calls us into relationship with our children and our children's children out to the seventh generation, reminding us that what we do now or what we fail to do will be felt by those who come after us.
Good morning. I am Kathy Walcave, chair of our wonderful Mission Peak Membership Committee, and today is our special Saging Sunday. We welcome our members and friends of Mission Peak here today. We especially welcome family and friends of our Mission Peak Sages who have joined us to hear the words of your loved ones. And we are delighted to welcome any newcomers who have come to our service today. In May of 2021, we held our first ever Saging Sunday to honor those in our congregation who are 80 years old or older. Because we had never done this before, we had quite a group to honor. They were Rod and Elke Gunn, Len Tiemann, Erica Kusterman, Louise Lefcourt, Joanne Landers, and John Porter. We also honored John Landers and Jackie Porter, who both had passed away earlier in 2021. Now it is time to welcome into our circle of sages those in our congregation who have turned 80 since that May 2021 service. Today we honor and celebrate Celeste King, Joanne Schreiner, Gary Getty Glaze, and Reverend Dr. Chris Schreiner, our Minister Emeritus. Our Western culture is not known for caring and valuing those in their golden years. How do we here at Mission Peak keep them at the center of our community? We hope this is just the beginning for us to have meaningful conversations with all our sages. I invite you to listen deeply and reflect on what you hear from our sages today. For the Going Deeper portion of the service, we will have the opportunity for a few people to briefly share a value they learned or were reminded of from the story of our sages. For further reflection, I invite you to think about the sages in your own life. How do you honor and care for them? Is there anything you want to add or do differently? Don't forget to listen to their stories and ask questions. Today, I hope everyone learns from the wisdom of our sages here at Mission Peak and from the sages in your life. As they have grown to discern the meaning and value of their life experiences, so may we too, and thus grow in wisdom ourselves. Please join me in reciting these words, which call us together as a community and with our Unitarian Universalists all across the globe. We light this chalice to remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because we are one family, to take good care of the earth because it is our home, to live lives full of goodness and love, because that is how we will become the best people we can be.
Good morning. Welcome to Mission Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Kathy Bain, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of the board, and we are glad you joined us this morning. I'm going to start out by highlighting some current announcements. There's a potluck after the service today. Feel free to enjoy food and fellowship, even if you forgot to bring a dish. We would appreciate help in setting up and cleaning up afterwards. Today at 1 p.m. after the potluck, a group of folks will be going together to the Fremont Local History Museum. We are interested in exploring our city's narrative and our history. All are welcome. We encourage attendees to be masked inside. We have masks available at the welcome table in the back. Please help yourself. The end of the mask requirement does not mean the end of COVID-19, which will remain present in our community. We are allowing attendees to decide which tools to use to keep themselves and others as healthy as possible. More information on the bulletin board to your left and in the week on the peak. Unitarian Universalism is a radically inclusive, non-doctrinal, non-dogmatic, open-minded, and open-hearted faith. We are people who are all coming at truth from different paths. We gather together across different identities, experiences, and beliefs to affirm and promote the inherent worth of every person. Together, we see our job is to love the hate out of this world, heal the hurt in ourselves and one another, and be the change we'd like to see in the world. If you're our guest for the first time, we welcome you. Here's a bit of information on how our hybrid services work. We use chat in Zoom or our book near the welcome table to share joys and concerns, personal milestones of importance, which will be read in the service. We also have social hour after the service where we get to visit with one another in breakout rooms or on the patio. The worship host will give you more information about this immediately after the service. Someone from our membership team will put a link to our weekly newsletter in chat so you can see all the events coming up. We encourage you to join anything that speaks to you. We also put our welcome email, welcome@mpuuc.org, to request a newsletter or other information be sent to you. If you're here in person, our welcome table is right over there on the left, where you can sign up and receive a newsletter or ask any questions you may have. Finally, please make sure your mobile devices are silenced. We are glad you are here today. And let's end by asking everyone in Zoomland and everyone in Cole Hall to wave to one another and feel that joy of being one large beloved community. Welcome and thank you to our members and friends near and far.
For all the saints who from their labors rest, worthy by faith before the world confess.
I would say he was probably in his 80s when we were visiting. And as we visited, and of course he always smoked, he had a cigarette. So he would smoke on his cigarette, then he would stare into the fire. We were in a teepee and the fire was going in the center. So he would look into it and smoke. And then all of a sudden he called me, Awakasina. And I acknowledged him. He said, at my age, I'm lonesome for all my friends, my childhood friends. He said, they're all gone. He said, the elders they call elders today were some of them weren't even born when I was young. So I don't really know who they are. But all my childhood friends are passed on. He said, I'm lonesome for them. He said, I'm lonesome for the time that medicine men were powerful. And when they did their practice of healing, they actually performed magic. He said, I seen that in a teepee when I was young, but I don't see it today, and I'm lonesome for that. I haven't seen it. So, of course, the medicine man he was talking about was a medicine man from our community. And as we do medicine, songs are important. So he had my dad drum his medicine songs for him while he was doing medicine. And my dad said, the old man, Eagle Speaker, asked me to come and drum. So he grabbed his drum and he went over to his teepee and he sat where the drummer sat. And then he watched the old man. He said the old man was at the head of the teepee, and the other old man he was healing was next to him. His name is Mikapi, Red Old Man. So Mikapi was the one that was sick, and the old man, Eagle Speaker, was healing him. So he asked my dad to put some rocks in the fire. About this big a rock, put in the fire. So they put it in the fire. Then he told my dad, sing my song. So he started hitting his drum and he sang the old man's song. And the old man reached into the fire and took out the stones. They were red hot. And the old man said, I watched him in the heat. I never seen him get burnt on those rocks, but he picked them up. And he said, he talked about his power of healing. And as he hit the rocks together, butterflies came out. And my dad said, I seen that. And then he put the rocks in a basin of water. And as the steam came up, then he took his steam blower and he started, it was a bone, eagle bone, and he started steaming the old man on where he was sick. But he went through the whole healing process, and the old man was singing. He said, I don't see those kind of powerful medicine men anymore, and I don't see the magic they perform. Then he sat there and he started smoking and everything went quiet again. As it went quiet, I asked him, Apoxoyus. His name is Weaseltail. I called him Apoxoyus. What is magic and what is power in our language? He said, the power is knowledge. The old man, Eagle Speaker, he had so much knowledge about how he would heal and how he uses the rocks and the medicine and the herbs all together through his song and ceremony. That was his knowledge of medicine and healing, and that was his power. He said when he went to heal Red Old Man and he hit the rocks together to start healing, that where we actually seen the butterflies come out, he said those were the points when everybody that was sitting in the teepee that was looking at him, when the minute they understood what he said and what he was doing, that minute of understanding is what he called magic. He said, because they all seen the same thing and they all understood what he says. And that's where the belief system and the power in our medicines are strong, because of that power and magic. So if I'm talking to people, at the time they understand, at that point of understanding, that's where I would say magic is. So those were his words. And the stories that he told me about how medicine men were power and magic from the old days. And we still need them today. Anya.
Today we are talking about power and magic. We're talking about wisdom and the elders who pass that on to us. A little bit later we're going to explore what are the traits of wisdom. But as I was thinking about it, some of the traits of wisdom are wise people tend to be very generous, and they also tend to think beyond themselves. Trying to be wise, we take a collection every Sunday. The goal is that we learn to be generous, to live beyond ourselves, to make sure that our lives are beneficial for the lives of the people around us. If you are able to, we encourage you to make a contribution. The slide on the screen will explain how you can make that congregation, but it will be by mailing a check made out to MPUUC. And you can put in the memo line everything for Reverend Greg if you want, or you can just give it to Mission Peak. And you can also put it in an envelope and put it in the mail slot, or pay online with a debit card. Thank you for supporting and sustaining the efforts of our members, our friends, and our staff. Your contributions make learning, loving, and leadership more possible. One of the ways that we as wise people make meaning in our lives is to come together and share stories, to let people know the important milestones that we're a part of. If you have a joy or a concern that by sharing with this caring community might bring healing or hope or extend your gladness a little bit further, we invite you, if you are with us online, to write it in the chat. Or if you are here in person, you can write it in the book. And then by speaking these aloud, we create a communion of all souls that we know everything that we do together. If your joy or concern is more personal, please feel free to contact myself or Reverend Barbara, and we will have a conversation. And we will have a fabulous anthem in just a second, where it may be the debut performance of Jessica Steele playing the piano here. But if you want to come up and drop a stone silently in our stone garden, then please do so. I hope that didn't make you nervous. Pressure. We will now have our song of reflection. That was fabulous. Before we get into our joys and concerns for today, we have a couple additional announcements that just came in. Mission Peak is helping to put on an interfaith summer solstice service. It is on June 24th. It is from 2 to 3, and it will be held at the United Church of Christ here in Fremont in collaboration with several people on the Interfaith Council, including our own Ariel Smith-Iyer. If you have more questions, please direct them to Ariel. After that interfaith service, there is going to be a parents' night out here at the congregation. So if you have children that by bringing them here might give you a little additional time of enjoyment, it really doesn't matter how old they are. They could be in their 40s or 50s. Bring them for Parents' Night Out, and that is also organized by Ariel.
Greg, did anybody announce the Juneteenth celebration next Saturday?
No, it wasn't in our list, but let's do that. Juneteenth will be celebrated by the Sunny Hills community in Milpitas. It is going to be from 11 to 4 p.m. and it is at Albert.
Sunny Hills, Howard Augustine Junior Park on Philo Drive.
Thank you. There is going to be a significant contingent from this congregation who are going, so please arrange to carpool, and we will have our own booth. If you do go, you could wear your purple Mission Peak t-shirt. That would be fantastic.
See me if you have questions.
And see Allison if you have questions. These are the joys and concerns that are on our heart this morning. Finally, one last stone for all the hopes and the hurts still too tender to escape. The silent sanctuary of our heart, may we, for the sake of love, keep our doors, our arms, our hearts, and our minds open. Please join with me in the spirit of this reflection. Very early in life, I was drawn to wise people. I wanted to be wise myself. Of course, my early motivation for being wise was more about ego, wanting for people to see me as wise. But although my ego is a little less than it used to be, I still get tripped up every now and then. But I've begun to recognize, mostly in other people, the wise traits that are beyond ego. This week, partly inspired by the 4 sages that we are welcoming here, I felt compelled to try and write down some of the things that were characteristics or traits of the wise people that I've known. And I wrote down 10 things. Some of those things included: wise people often become more curious than afraid when it comes to new experiences. And in anxious moments, wise people turn to love rather than to fear or control. Wise people have come to an impressive level of self-awareness and self-acceptance, so much so that they often become delightfully quirky. They are less worried about what other people think. Wise people often become humble and selfless. Over years of letting go of ego and the need to be right, their focus often turns to other people. And wise people, because of that whole self-awareness thing, don't tend to throw very many tantrums. They know what they're feeling, and they know what they're needing, and they're very good at self-regulating and self-soothing. When I got to 10 on that list, I stopped, partly because I surprised myself. when I read what I wrote, I realized that I couldn't cross anything off, nor could I even rank them as one being more important than the other. But I stopped partly because I realized that I hadn't even gotten to the one that popped into my head first that made me want to write the list, which was wise people are invariably kind and generous. They smile easily, they laugh heartily, they're playful, and they're quick to gratitude, delight, and joy. I shared the list with a number of people this week who were quick to point out various distinctions or other things that I hadn't thought of, and I don't know if that made them wise, but it did tell me that we were all Unitarian in the conversation. I am now trying to let go of the list and the need to define wisdom as though there could actually be any way to contain or corral or define what it is to be wise. There are as many ways to be wise as there are moments in which wisdom is needed. This morning, as our sages share their insights and experiences with us, maybe we can make our own list, a list of appreciations or ways we feel inspired, or maybe just to capture on whatever blank pages we may still have left in our book of life, how we plan to receive and revere and pass on the wisdom that we see in others.
I took my love, you took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills, till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I but time makes you bolder. Even children get older, and I'm getting older too. I'm getting older too. So take my love, take it down. Oh, if you climb a mountain and you turn around, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide will bring it down, down. And if you see my reflection in the snow,
First, I want to thank Kathy Walcave for helping me with this, and typing it up and editing. She was very helpful. Thank you. I am Celeste King. I was born in New Orleans on June 12, 1942, during World War II, the third of 5 girls. My father was a Navy captain of a small ship in the Atlantic. He had had a house built across the river from New Orleans in Plaquemines Parish. Because of their French and Spanish roots, counties in Louisiana are called parishes. My father joined many family members at this location, which turned out to be great. My Aunt Madeleine and Uncle George lived across the road, and another uncle next door to them. My cousin, N.C., lived in the next house. Nancy and I explored the areas around our houses. We'd visit relatives who would give us Cokes and cookies. I had a delightful first 10 years. In 1952, we moved to New Orleans into the mansion where my father grew up in the Garden District. It scared me at first, but I grew to love it, one of the most beautiful houses in New Orleans. It was on half an acre, so there was a lot of property to play in. Now, I was now in 4th grade and started attending a private school. To get there and back, I would take the St. Charles streetcar, which would be like riding a cable car in San Francisco to get to school. It still runs today. After graduating in 1960, I attended Smith College for undergraduate studies and Johns Hopkins for graduate school. I had the good luck to spend my junior year in Geneva, Switzerland, which helped me become fluent in French. In graduate school, I studied for a year in Bologna, Italy. Traveling has played an important part of my life. While working at the Institute of Governmental Research in Seattle, I met Ben, who was a professor of business at the University of Washington. We quickly bonded over both being fluent in French. Our first trip together was to Paris, of course. A year after we married, our daughter Allie was born. I was able to quit work to raise her, which was a delightful experience. Ben and I traveled to France and Martinique many times. People there seem to get friendlier and friendlier. I was able to quit work. Wait a second. I'm lost. Oh, I wonder if getting better at speaking French had anything to do with it. In March 2020, Ben and I moved to Fremont to live close to Allie, son-in-law Eric, and new grandchild Maya. In September of 2021, Ben and I were on our way to Hawaii when Ben fell at the San Francisco airport. He died a couple of weeks after that. We miss him, but we are glad that he got to meet Maya. Over the many years of traveling with Ben, I learned that it is important to be flexible in life and be open to new experiences. Having trust in my loved ones also has helped me throughout my life. Since I have only lived in the Bay Area for about 3 years, Mission Peak UU congregation is important to me because it gives me the ability and structure to meet other people. I enjoy chatting with people, you guys, after the service and feel a sense of community here. So thank you, and thanks again to Kathy. Okay.
I am a lucky one. I grew up the oldest of 3 siblings with a sense of security, love, respect, and encouragement. I never heard my parents say anything negative about anyone, personal or political. Dad was an ophthalmologist and Army medic and goofball, to which I aspire. Mom, a homemaker and volunteer, serious and attentive. Mom's family Presbyterian, Dad's Mormon, and his uncle, Uncle T, was Ezra Taft Benson. I lived most of my life in Santa Ana, California, with stints in St. Louis and Logan, Utah. For 14 years, I was busy raising 3 daughters and a son, darling, wonderful, amazing humans. There are now 6 dear grandchildren, ages 4 to 34. One got married last night. In my mid-50s, I got my BA in music therapy. I loved my 25-year career serving folks in penal institutions, those with developmental disabilities and Alzheimer's, and especially my hospice work, the love and work of living and dying. I learned that it's not ever too late to grow and to care. I'm grateful. In 2000, my honey, Chris, and I got married and moved to Fremont, where we had an immediate family. You all, thank you. In 3rd grade, I began piano lessons, and herein lies one of my great life lessons. In 8-year-old despair at the end of each lesson, I knew for certain there was no way to accomplish what my teacher wanted from me. I did love to practice every day, though, and that constant turtle-paced journey from one day to the next rewarded me with satisfying and sometimes exciting accomplishment. By the next lesson, I learned that bean by bean, the sack is filled, and impossible might actually be possible in all of life, and I am thankful. I shared the love of music with my kids from their beginnings, and they cherish it. We still make music together, including the grandchildren. I learned that to do what I love can bring joys and growth and connections throughout a lifetime, and I'm grateful. My journals, dated back to the 70s, good, bad, and ugly, my recorded history of love and resentment, feelings and blaming, stories, sometimes true, that I told myself about me and those I loved. with recent apologies to family. I've not grown, and I have grown. I've learned about myself. It's like Mission Peak now, looking back to see where we've been, what we want to keep, what we want to discard. My beliefs? Dad joined Presbyterian early in their marriage, and that was my religion until my 50s when I realized I was an atheist and joined UU gatherings. Did I mention that I was introduced to UUism and Chris the same morning? Happy coinkydink. Which brings me to Mission Peak and what is important to me here. Music, of course. I've had fun over the years with piano, singing, creating music with others. I appreciate that Mission Peak encourages people to make music together as a gift to the congregation. I also like that we're encouraged to reach out, to connect with each other during difficult and celebratory times. Thank you to my beloved family, especially my late life love, Chris, and to Mission Peak and friends. I leave you with these words: gratitude, joy, learning, love.
Hi. Oh boy. I'm not a prepared person. I'm an impromptu person. I've lived a full and enjoyable life, and I was born and raised in Panama, where when I was very young, and I was a bit of a wild child, and then moved to Southern California, and lived the full teenage life. And that was interesting. And then I got in the service and served my country and did the proper thing. I then got married, stepchildren, and my one child. But always in the back of my mind, I knew there was a lady hidden. And she always wanted to let me out, please. So when I was in my middle 60s, I finally decided to allow my lady that I've always known to come out. And having lived many lives and learning many things, I am so happy now that I am able to experience life as it should be. I still live and work as Gary, and from the picture, and I still enjoy life with my family, and they love me, which is a good thing. The one bit of wisdom I want to impart is that life gives you many things, but a lot of times it gives you pain and sorrow. You can allow the pain and sorrow to dwell within you and hurt and fester, or you can just let it go, learn from it, and that's how you become wise.
Thank you, Mission Peak, for encouraging your octogenarians to remember important events that shaped our lives. Some of my formative experiences involved the printed page. That'll be a surprise to you, I'm sure. By the time I started school, I already loved books, books, books. I was an only child growing up with my mom. We moved a lot, so I did not make lasting friendships. But books were my faithful friends. Books about animals, astronomy, biology, and religion. Reading this old Bible, cover to cover, with the words of Jesus printed in red. Books treated me better than my classmates did in school. I was an emotional little guy who laughed uproariously at the movies watching cartoons, but who also cried easily. In first and second grade, mean kids teased me for the deliciously powerful feeling of totally dominating somebody. But between second and third grade, we moved to another town, and I saw that I could make a fresh start. I decided to systematically suppress my feelings so that nobody could get their jollies by making me break down. I chose emotional suppression for my own emotional survival. So at age 8, I was experimenting with deliberate personal change, and deliberate change has been a theme for me ever since. In college, my love of books was valued, and my intensely competitive energies found an outlet at debate tournaments. Debate tournaments taught me to see both sides of an issue, since we had to argue both for and against various proposals. I saw that most people are grotesquely overinvested in their own viewpoints. Debate also taught me to evaluate logic and evidence, which undermine my religious beliefs. I've been planning to be a Methodist minister, but in college, the logic and reasoning I found in theological books seemed painfully shallow. But then I learned that Unitarian Universalist ministers do not have to preach standard Christian dogma, and I visited a UU church and I knew I had come home. During theological school, I began another project of personal growth, reversing the emotional suppression that had helped me survive childhood, immersing myself in psychotherapy, various forms of mind expansion, and interpersonal relationships. I called it my peopleization project. This helped prepare me for marriage to someone named Joanne. And during our wedding ceremony, I read these lines from E.E. Cummings. Now I love you, and you love me, and books are shorter than books can be. As I sit at home these days, obsessed with studying philosophy, being with Joanne and our family keeps me connected to life and love and feelings. And the Sunday services of Mission Peak help tremendously too. The programs led by Reverend Greg and our lay participants inspire me with their thoughtfulness, profound caring, and fearless exploration. I hope Mission Peak is still here when I'm 90 and far beyond.
We have had a full service, but I want to take just a couple seconds that we can appreciate something that we heard from our sages, or make known the impact that that we like to take away. Want to encourage us to have a short response, whether you're online and typing, or whether you're here saying it in person, anything more than a sentence, we're going to require you to wait until you're 80 to have the full disclosure. So anybody want to share an impression or an appreciation of something that they heard that they're going to take away with them? And I will look in the chat and point out anything. From Graham. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That is so not fair. That comment is just going to stand on its own, because I don't think I could say that.
Courage. I would say courage.
There's a lot of courage in each of those testimonies. Allison.
Never too late.
It is never too late. Don.
I was just going to say, I noticed that throughout Celeste's story that other people with a great joy in the thing that she remembers about her life. I think that's what I've seen in her versus in that.
Yeah, it's a great joy to see people reflect deeply and to share earnestly about the things that were really turning points in their life. A tremendous sense of gratitude for the way that our four sages today just exemplified a lot of the things that we're talking about, the courage in particular. Barbara.
How blessed we are to have you in our midst and to share such wonderful thoughts.
It is a great blessing to have our sages in our midst and to continually be inspired and encouraged and challenged by your lives. We've got from Annette, who says that it's very inspirational, and from Paul and Nudie, who just really wanted to appreciate the courage and the ability to honor one's own self that Getty expressed. And from David Lefcourt, who said, love these expressions of self and learning and appreciate all the joys and reflection and courage. And from Lucy, who says, loving acceptance of oneself is a form of wisdom. And from David,
Family and community can be vital.
family and community can be vital. And I especially want to lift up and appreciate, we can not always choose the family that we get, but we can choose the family that we're with. And that's a lovely thing. So thank you to our sages. Please stay after the service today for the potluck and more conversation with our sages, some of whom might have even more stories than they shared so far. Please stand and join us in our closing hymn, 128, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for our hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Please join with me in reciting these words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, one hand on your hearts. This is a singing benediction. Love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me. I rest in this love. One more time, and we and us. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding us. I rest in this love. Let us go forth with the wisdom to hold that love and share it with others. Amen. Oh, tomorrow? You have the same birthday? Holy smokes. The same exact, you are, oh, we have to sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Celeste and Getty. Happy birthday to you. Thank you all, and thank you to Kathy who organized this and the membership team. We're going to transpose this space and put up some tables so that we can eat. We'll probably have some tables outside, so if you are able to help, please do so.